Welcome to the Body Peace Podcast, formerly known as Her Story on a Plate. This podcast has always been a space for deep, nuanced conversations about food, body image, and the stories our bodies carry. But as conversations have grown, so has our mission.
That's why this is now the Body Peace Podcast, a name that reflects what we're truly here for, helping you step off the battlefield with your body and move toward more compassion, connection, and ease.
Each episode will bring real, honest dialogue with your hosts, me, I'm Jenny Kramer.
And me, Nina Manelson. We'll also be joined by guests whose personal stories and professional wisdom offer new ways of thinking, feeling, and being in your body.
We're so glad you're here. Welcome to the Body Peace Podcast.
Our guest today is Manny Martins Carmen. Manny is at the core an amazing artist. She is, in my opinion, truly an embodiment of her art. She is art. Like, she walks into her room and her energy and the way she looks and everything about her is just art. It's creativity. It's color. It's light. It's incredible. And she's parlayed that into a huge presence on social media. And she shows up in the public eye in a full, colorful expression of style and an incredible ownership of her own body. And I've talked to Manny a few times, and each time I am so moved by her body journey and how she owns herself fully. And in that helps other women celebrate themselves. So Manny's motto is, I believe if you feel joy and are happy in what you wear, you will project the same to those around you. Yes. Unapologetically dress for yourself. So welcome, Manny. We are so delighted you're with us.
Oh, thank you so much. And after that glowing introduction, I'm like, okay, I'll just sit back now.
Yeah, we're done. Okay.
It's all true.
No worries.
Though, that is exactly what still keeps me going. And having started this during the pandemic, like many, I didn't think I'd still be doing this. I thought I was just doing it for fun. But it's important to be able to be seen and to show others that it's okay to show up just as you are.
How did you come to this? How did you come to this understanding? Because Nina and I work with folks all the time for whom this is such a difficult part of the journey, to just be out there, get up in the morning, not be assaulted by your closet or your mirror. I mean, how have you come to this?
It's not something that you actually get to. It's something that you try to work towards. Because
Right.
There are still days that I am assaulted by my closet or that I feel like I'm less than because of my body.
Sure.
But the way that I have been able to, I guess, move forward is by surrounding myself with others who look like me. When you see representation, you feel like you're not alone. You feel like, okay, I belong. Like, this is okay to look like this. Look, everyone else looks like me. So when you're represented, and that's why I show up, is so that I could represent people who look like me, then you start to feel a little bit more okay. It's like you're given permission to, yeah, you know what? I can wear that bikini because I've seen others do it. Nothing happens to them. Nobody throws anything at them. I'm okay. I can do that. And then the more you do it, the easier it gets. The more you feel confident in what you have on. And if you get feedback, a positive feedback, then you're like, okay, this is good. I'm moving in the right direction. But it's not, you never really get there because it's, for me, it's 40 years of trying to undo stuff.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, we talk so much here about how we're all victims of diet culture and this whole idea that thin is the ideal, it is the way to be, whatever that means, that there's this thing called thin and fat. Okay. the way we see it is what we have is human bodies. That's what we are. And our human bodies embody all of who we are, and our souls and our essences and our luscious brains and all of the things that we do. And yeah, there's this encasement we all walk around in so that we can tell each other apart. But really, the essence and the soul of who we are, that's what's important. And I say this because the way that you express yourself in your photos, in your being, right? It sort of gives us access to your essence. Does that make
Yeah,
sense?
I
Yeah.
I recently had a post where I said, and this was the most popular little note that everyone came back and commented on, was that I said, here are some of the things that I've learned at my recent trip to Cabo. And it was, my body is the least interesting thing about me.
Mm.
Mm.
Mhm.
Like,
In a good way.
yeah, don't put so much
In a good
emphasis
way.
on the fact that, like you said, this is the thing that holds our being.
But
Mm.
let's go from there to how women feel when they go on the beach in a bathing suit. Because I really understand that statement of our body is not all of who we are. I do find bodies particularly interesting because they are the container of our journey. So I do find our bodies fascinating. And yet, when women get on a beach, it becomes everything. My body is my entire worth. So I want to come back to this bathing suit issue
Yeah.
because it's sort of a distillation of that moment where, oh my gosh, my entire worth is how I look in this moment. So, how do you encourage women to step into a bathing suit with a little adventure, with a little more confidence, with a little creativity?
Yeah. So, I mean, it's not super easy, but let me tell you, it's easier when you're surrounded by a bunch of people that look like you and are all in the same suits. So,
Mhm.
one of the things that happens, and I don't know if it happens for everybody, but it happens for me, is that when I'm in the sun and I'm in the ocean, there's healing power in those things. And I
For
find
sure.
that everything else just melts away and it
Mm.
doesn't matter. I love the way the ocean feels on my belly. I love the way the sun feels on my back and my arms. So when I concentrate on those things, the way that
Mhm.
I feel with nature, with ocean and sun, then it doesn't matter. Like I could be lying there and look around and see people much thinner or different bodies, and it's okay. I'm allowed to walk up and down that beach, and if people look, I'll give them a show.
What you're talking about, Manny, is embodiment, right? When you talk
Mhm.
about here's the sun, here's the ocean, right? I am in my body, right? Neva Peron, who's a psychologist who deals with body issues, talks about many kinds of embodiment, but two in particular that are of note here, which is subjective embodiment versus objective embodiment. And what you're talking about is that experience of subjective embodiment. This is my experience in my body versus what I hear from so many clients. Well, what will people think? Right? That's objective embodiment. What do you think of my body? My body is the object versus this is my body. I'm having an experience.
Yes, and do you think it's maybe age or wisdom, or I'm not sure what it is, but or maybe we
Mm.
just it's the journey that we need to go through to get to a point where I don't care what you think. Like
Yeah.
this is my body. You can have your opinion of what you think I look like. That's fine. But I don't give any bleeps anymore. I'm
Mhm.
not sure if that's age. Is that age?
Well, it's partly age because, I think you're onto something. It is partly age. I love when you say aging like a rebel. That is what we're rebelling against, right? But I also have to say that I work with a lot of women that are our age, we'll say, of a certain age. And yes, there's wisdom. Of course there is. And there's resolve. And some of them really have trouble letting go of it, because it's not even just about, oh my God, I have to get dressed every day, and oh my God, what do I look like, and what are others going to think? Even if they can let go of what others think, our bodies also hold all of our life experiences.
Yes.
The good, the bad, and the ugly, right? They hold our experiences. So there has to be a willingness to sort of come to peace about what those experiences are. That seems to
It
resonate with you.
does, yes.
Yeah.
We are a product of our environment and of our upbringing, right? I mean, and the choices we've made along the way is what's led us to where we are today. So
Mhm.
if you're in a, like, look around, and if you're coming from a grateful place, you just have to say, those things happened then, but look where I am now. And I think that that's part of that little bit of letting go. Because, yeah, if I go back there too far, it's, it starts to creep up again. But we all have our stuff.
Yeah, I think a lot of the decisions are much more graceful when we say, I did what I did and I decided what I decided with the knowledge that I had at the time. It's so easy to look back 10, 20, 30, 40 years later and say, God, that was stupid. But at the
Yeah.
moment, it's what we knew. It was the knowledge we
Yeah.
had. And that,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah. Go ahead. I was just going to say that I'm so knocked out by your Instagram. It's so joyous.
Hmm.
It's so beautiful. I mean, I hope that folks who are listening will also watch us on YouTube just so they could see what you look like, because you have this beautiful smile, and it sort of radiates and emanates, right? And on your Instagram, I just love your use of color. Can you say more about that?
Well, there are times where, like, I always dress for what I think I want to feel like and what I want to project. So there are times where
Mm,
I'll do like a whole black and white moment, and very dark and sort of almost classic, like, blend into the background, but with some sort of little Manny twist. But color
mm,
is something that people are afraid of because you're going to be seen, right? You're going to stand out.
Hmm.
And so if you're going to do that, do it well, do it loud, do it proud. Just embrace the color, and the color can give you that life, that joy, that bounce in your step that you're going to need. And you're going to give it to somebody
and it's
else, because it's not just
Hmm.
you out there. I often walk to a grocery store or something and I have something really colorful on, and the grocer came out from behind the counter and said, "Oh my God, I love what you're wearing." I'm like, "Thanks." And he walked away with a beautiful smile, right? That's all it's about.
Yeah.
that is all it's
And one of
about.
the things you said is, I dress for how I want to feel.
Mm,
Let's just unpack that, because before we started and you came on, Jenny and I were talking about how different women dress in the morning and what our process is. And I love how
mm,
you're like, well, how do I want to feel? What do I want to project out in the world? And fundamentally, that's
mm,
also, I'm being visible.
Yes. I do quite a few videos on, and some of them are on my YouTube channel when they get a little long, on the process, right? On how do I go about choosing what I chose. And it really almost always starts with one part of the garment, whether it's pants or top, or sometimes it's
mm,
around a shoe. But I
mm.
will choose one piece and then decide, okay, so what does this make me feel like? Is this going to be a groovy girl, or is this going to be like a Chanel inspired moment? Is this like, I just go into that character and try to find pieces in my closet that will support that. And then I try to show others how that process goes. And it's being fearless, put your stuff on and look in the mirror and trust your gut. If you're like, oh, I don't know, maybe not that, then go and put something else on. And when you
Mhm.
play like that, there's this sense, this going back to childhood, like when you went into the box of clothes and you just put everything
Mhm.
on. It doesn't matter if they match or don't, but you feel joyous and you do that little twirl around. That's what,
You can imagine what some of our listeners are thinking right now, right? Oh, sure. I'm going to stand in front of my closet and decide how do I want to feel today. And I'm going to start with a shoe and start with a, and why not? Right? Why not put the
Mhm.
time in?
Why not
I mean, no matter
play?
how rushed you are, yeah, no matter what how busy we are, it's a 5-minute process you're talking about,
yeah.
right? Where you're really just making some choices and decisions. And what you put into your closet will help you make some of those decisions. So I'm curious about, I mean, obviously color is a big part of the whole thing. I mean, you remind me of Gail King. Your glasses are matching your top today. Quite beautiful. Do you have like a million pairs of glasses like she does?
Yeah.
Yeah,
There,
yeah,
when I
okay.
decided I needed, well, not when I decided, but when my body decided it needed glasses, I decided that they were going to be, I fought for a bit. I was like, no, I don't want to, but they're going to be an accessory. If you're going to put something on your body, make it something that you love, something that
Mhm.
makes you happy.
Talk about the role of accessories. I think it makes a big difference, doesn't it?
It does. It helps to take a regular piece and just a basic and just elevate it slightly. Whether it's a great big brooch, because the brooches are back, which is wonderful because us ladies of a certain age have quite a
Have a
collection of
few.
them from way back. So put that brooch on. And then if you're feeling extra, put 3 on or 5 and just see what happens. Just see what happens.
I had the good fortune of, it's going to sound ridiculous, recently having lunch with my 6th grade teacher. She's remarkable. We've been back in touch, and it's just a remarkable gift. And she wears a very, very, she's very artistic like you. And she wears some very, very large brooches that are just beautiful and magnificent. And it becomes almost the point of conversation when you first see her. Because, your eye focuses on the beauty of her and of what she's
And
wearing,
that opens up conversations, doesn't it? Like if
Yes.
you have
Yes.
something that people will stop and chat with you, like, oh my gosh, that is so needed right now. And like the sense of
Mm.
community, the sense of connection, the
Yeah.
the connections that I make with people online, on the internet, on my page is mind blowing. And the kinds of messages that I get back, it just goes to prove that we as humans need to have that kind of connection. We need that community, and it's lacking.
Yeah. It's
Yes.
interesting. Somebody said to me once, she said, when we get together, she said, I always dress up because I know you're going to put energy into what you wear. And so it becomes, she said, I'm sure you dress for yourself, but I often feel like you're dressing up for me. And I feel like it's a gift that you're giving me, showing up looking artistic, put together, creative. And that is exactly what you're talking about. That art, that creativity, it creates connection, it creates relationship, and it's a spark of
Mm.
joy.
Yes. And the key to what you're saying, Manny, too, is you're dressing for you.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then, right, it emanates, right? And so I know Nina does the same, right? She dresses for her, and yet it has an appeal to other people, right? We don't think of it that way. We think like we have to put our uniform on now and go step out into the world and do our thing. But you're making a statement. It's an artful statement. One of the things that I'm so curious about is how and where you get clothing, right? Because you can imagine, I hear all the time about, okay, sure, there's stuff I can get online, but how many more things am I going to have to return? Yes, I can step into a store, but that's fraught with some feelings that are really not comfortable. But even when I can, they still don't have what I want. And when I finally go to a store that's devoted to, let's say, plus size, I have to be 27 or I'm not going to be happy in there. So I'm curious to know how you get some of the things that you get.
Well, the first thing is that there's a lot of mental stuff that's going on when you enter that place or when
Mm.
you're starting to look for something. So you have to leave all that behind. Don't go in looking for a t-shirt. Don't go looking for a dress. I mean,
Right.
yes, that's probably why you're shopping anyway, but go with the idea that you're looking for something to spark you,
Mm.
something that lights you up. And then you go from there and you go, okay, oh my gosh, I love that. I gravitate naturally to this. Okay, so now you take that and you go, how can I make this work for me? Whether, first of all, it's in your size or not, that's a whole other story because,
Yeah.
that can take you down another rabbit hole. But
Right.
say you found it in your size and it's like, oh my gosh, I love that. But then you put it back because you go, I don't know what to do with that.
Mm.
I, no, I can't do that. But initially, you wanted to do that. You were drawn to
Mm-hmm.
that. So go with that and then take it home and then play, put it on, put a bunch of stuff on. You know how earlier we said the process could take 5 minutes? And those of you who are still working, if you do this the night before and put your clothes out
Mm-hmm.
and your outfit, you roll out of bed, you roll into your clothes, you think, you drink your coffee, and you're out the door. You've already put the work in. It's much easier that way.
Yeah.
But okay, sorry,
Yeah,
back
sure.
to
You're right. So some of it is what the attitude that what I'm hearing you say is, right? It's the attitude you walk into, whether it's online or in a store, right?
Yeah.
It's really just about, how do I create something today? What mood am I in? How do I generate that, right? Rather than, how do I cover this body?
And one of the words you've said over and over is play. How do I play?
Mm.
Where is the play here?
Yes. And I love that. You're not just covering your body because, man, if I could, I wouldn't have to cover my body. Like, yay, just be free, all of it, all the jiggle, all of it. But yes, so don't think about it as covering your body, but think
Mm.
of it as, how am I going to be not extra, but maybe a little bit more playful, a little bit more joyful in something. But trust your gut when you see something you love. It's all like it hardly ever lies to you,
Hmm.
really.
Yes.
And go with that.
It's interesting.
And if you come, I'm
No,
sorry, go ahead,
Manny, you're
Nina.
inspiring me because I love to play with clothes. I love thinking about what am I in the mood for? How do I want to express myself? But there's this saying something I often say when I walk into a store is, oh, I love that, but I don't have the life for that. I need the lifestyle that goes with those shoes. I need the lifestyle that goes with that dress, and to let that go.
Yes, where does that come from? Like, why do we attach all that stuff to a piece of
Right.
clothing that, yeah, and if you think that that's not your lifestyle, then change it and make it your lifestyle.
Mm.
I'm going to wear that to our ladies' night at the club or at the, wherever you're gathering. And if you're not gathering, if you're not going out, then just wear the stuff on the daily.
Mhm.
Like, why can't you just put on a beautiful silk something that makes you happy during the day?
Yeah.
It's, I know, easy to go into the pajamas all day because, like, I have to confess, coming off of this, I guess it's 2 weeks now, coming off of having to wear a bathing suit for 4 days on a beach, I came back and I was like, oh, I just want a bathing suit on. I don't want to put clothes on. And I might sound like I got it all together and that it's easy, but it's not, you guys. It's
Well, as you said, it's a journey, right? And it's a
It's a
process.
practice.
Imagine if, yes, it is
yes.
a process for
Mhm.
sure. Imagine if we could approach food the way we approach clothing, the way you're suggesting,
Mm.
right?
Yeah.
Pay attention for a moment to, ooh, what do I want?
Mhm.
Like, ooh, how do I feel? How do I want to feel? Right? And just imagine, right? because food is certainly sustenance. We get that, of course, but it's also an aesthetic pleasure, right? And people start to feel guilty when they think of it that way. No,
Yeah.
that's not what it's for. Yes, it is. It has an aesthetic pleasure just the way clothing does.
But Jenny, what you're
And it's really
saying,
just creating.
what's baked in there and what you're saying is so important because it's saying what you want.
I'm sorry. Did you just say baked? Did you say baked?
I did. Sorry, food
I'm
puns,
sorry.
food puns everywhere.
Yes, I'm sorry.
So what is baked in there is this idea that we're important, that what we want is important, who we are is important, our desires are important, our pleasure is important, our visibility is important, that it's worth self-referencing. And then checking in.
Yes.
How do I want to express? What do I want to eat? How do I want to take up my space on a beach in a bikini? How do I want to do this?
And that importance is not in spite of who we are. It's because of who we are.
I love that.
I mean, to me, that is sort of the only reason why we do this podcast to begin with, is that's the message. It's not in spite of who you are. It's not to settle in. It's to actually be.
Yes.
Yeah.
This is what your fashion sense and your essence and your being, Manny, is so inspiring.
And impactful.
Because that's really the name of the game, you know?
Yes,
Well,
because you are being so visible and you are being so fully you. And we all need you to show up that way to tell us, yes, keep doing you. It's exquisite.
Yeah.
That kind of mindset, like when you start with clothing, and I found this for myself, it starts to move over into other areas of your life, and including food. I come from a huge diet culture background, and it's still a journey, that side of things, to look at food in a way of, oh, yes, I need to fuel my body, but you know what? It also needs to be joyful. Like, I love to eat, yes, but I don't want to eat just rice cakes and whatever. I want to eat food that's pleasurable. I want to be able to feed not just my physical body, but my emotional body as well. And when you're coming at it from a perspective of joy and living in this shell that we call our body, it's different.
Yes.
Your choices are, oh, because you're so wonderful to me, I'm going to choose this today because it's bright and colorful, as well as the vegetables.
Speaking of color, I want to come back to this idea of art. Again, I hope if people tune in on YouTube, they'll see what I'm seeing. Behind you is this lovely painting with lots of beautiful color. So I'm wondering, is art actually part of your life, and art in music? Because also behind you is this fabulous piano, which my eye will always fall on first. So I'm just wondering, is art sort of part of your being, artistic expression?
It is. And I believe I've done several workshops and art things. Okay, let's go back then. So I believe that everyone is creative. Everyone is born with a creative gene in them. It's how it's nurtured and how, whether it comes out or not. So when I was very young, I had an uncle who was an artist, and he would send little handwritten and illustrated cards for our birthdays and holidays. And those things, my gosh, they, like, to this day, I probably was like, maybe 10. And to this day, those things still bring up these warm, wonderful memories. And so that sparked this creativity in me, that I wanted to feel that, and I wanted others to feel that. And so I became a professional artist probably before the pandemic. So I've shown around the world, I've sold pieces. I haven't, so the pandemic hit and my last exhibit got canceled, obviously. It did finally get aired and shown at our local concert hall, which was wonderful. But since the pandemic, I haven't really done any painting. I don't have any new work. Yes, the piece behind me is something that I've done, and I have,
It's beautiful.
thank you. I have most of my pieces up around, and they also, you know what? I'm looking at one across from me right now, and I think, holy cow, that is also a representation of what I'm doing with fashion and with showing it online. It's like,
That's your art.
Right. That's my
Mhm.
point. If people can find their
Mhm.
art, right? And it can be literally anything, right? But if you can, what an expression that becomes, right? And what a different emphasis to put on your life. Listen, I can't draw a straight line, so I'm not even talking about talent. It's just about the wanting to express yourself.
yeah,
So if it's through art, if it's through music, if it's through who you are as a being, if it's through the colors you choose to walk around in every day, if it's walking around in a bathing suit in the middle of the winter, I don't care, whatever makes you happy. But it really is about self-expression, isn't it?
yes, it is. I don't play though. My kids, they took lessons. They don't play now. My husband is also musical, so
Okay.
that's
Right, you get credit. It's the same household. It's okay.
yeah,
It counts.
I want to
yeah.
reel us
Yeah.
back and sort of finish with this idea of visibility because you're so visible. You have made
Mm.
your presence very known and you're
Yeah,
oh,
that freaks me out sometimes. I gotta tell you.
so let's talk about really being visible and especially as we age when the world is saying for us to go invisible. And if we're not in a small body and the world is saying, well, just do something that just covers you, doesn't show any curve. So let's just take a second. When you say like, oh my gosh, I'm so visible, it's a little freaky, say more.
Yeah. So what it is just the old programming, right? Like, oh my gosh, I am very visible. Like, what are people gonna think,
Mm-hmm.
right? But the thing is, I don't stay there anymore.
Hmm.
That sure that thought comes, but now I could push it aside and say, remember, we don't care. This is me.
The way that I start to think about this now is, oh, gee, I wonder what they think. Oh, yeah, now let's see. Are they involved in major decisions in my life? No. Okay. Or do they get a vote in my life? All right. No. Oh, I guess then I don't care.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Like when you project that thought or that idea that everybody's looking at me, what are they going to think? Good. You can look. You can leave your thoughts over there.
You're right.
I'll close this out, or I'll attempt to close this out with a little anecdote. Imagine that you're on a bus or a train, and there's about 20 of you on this bus or train. And imagine that it's the kind of car where you're sort of facing each other, right? Not in rows, but like each side has facing. And imagine that each of those 20 people are thinking, oh my God, I hope I look put together. I wonder what they think of me. I wonder if my hair is
Mm-hmm.
straight. I wonder, like, do I look normal? All of that, right? The cosmic joke is that if all 20 people are thinking that, guess what they're not thinking and focusing on? The other
Right.
19 people. So imagine if you could go into the world knowing that while you think everybody is looking at you and having a thought, actually, they're way too preoccupied with themselves to be having those thoughts. And I think it can bring you some comfort when you realize that.
And how much joy could you
Right.
have if you actually took the focus off you and put it on others? Like
Imagine.
that group of people
Mm-hmm.
ah, just connecting, enjoying each other.
Right. Right. The
Imagine.
difference, the shift.
Imagine.
And the other thing that I hear often is people don't just imagine that people are judging them. They have the experience of being judged because they were judged by their mother or their sister or a teacher or a gym teacher or whatever. And people say, well, I'm afraid of being judged. I'm like, yeah, people are super judgy. And we're not going to change people's judgment, but we can make the leap, Manny, that you said, which is to connect. And then people aren't judging the package. They're connecting with your essence. And so I want to thank you for bringing your essence to the world fully in Technicolor. It's magnificent. And thank you so much for joining us. And I'm wondering if there's one last thing, if you want everybody to know, what do you want them to know? What do you want to say?
Wear what makes you happy.
Ain't that the truth? Manny, where can people find you on Instagram? What's your handle?
It's Manny Fashion Stylist on Instagram. TikTok, I believe it's Manny Carmen.
Karman.
And yes, correct. Yeah.
Okay, great. Well, thank you so much for being with us. It's been a joy.
It's my pleasure. You guys are so fun.
We're so glad you joined us on this episode of Body Peace.
Stay connected as we continue exploring what it means to live in your body with more ease, trust, and care by subscribing to Body Peace on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you listen.
Be sure to visit us at bodypeacepodcast.com for special bonus content for those on our mailing list.